The zombies had surrounded Fred, Daphne and Velma. There was no way that they could escape without facing them. Then, Velma remembered something. The zombies were only the tortured souls of those who had been previously drained of their life force. They had only risen up so that their souls could be avenged. They had been trying to warn the gang, not hurt them. Velma then stood in front of Fred and Daphne, and stood on top of a nearby rock to boost her height by about a foot, so that all the zombies could clearly see her. She then addressed them. I know that you're only trying to warn us, so that we don't suffer the same fate you have. I can't even begin to imagine all the pain and suffering you'll have experienced. But I promise me and my friends will do everything we can to put a stop to this once and for all, so that no one else will have to suffer your fate, and so that you'll finally be put to rest. The zombies then stepped back and allowed the three of them free passage. Velma then turned back to Fred and Daphne. Come on, back to the house. We better check on the guys. No doubt they'll be scared out of their minds, Velma exclaimed to them. And then we'll have to go back to where it all began, Fred said sternly. The three of them began running towards the house. The zombies slowly followed, but they were no longer Fred, Daphne and Velma's pursuers. Now, they were Fred, Daphne and Velma's army. Back at the house, Shaggy and Scooby had also been cornered. Enough zombies had entered the house for them to block all exits. As they were cornered, Fred, Daphne and Velma burst in. Daphne then gave Velma's speech to the zombies that were in the house, and those zombies too stood back. Shaggy and Scooby, however, were still not convinced. They were still crouched together in a hump on the floor, shaking enough to vibrate the entire room. To try and ease their nerves, Daphne reached into her pocket again and gave them 2 Scooby snacks each. This was enough to at least stop them from shaking. Velma, now knowing that the guys were all right, took a second to look round the house. She then asked where David was, along with his 2 siblings that they had yet to see. The duo told the rest of the gang about David venturing into the secret passage under the stairs. The doorway had been closed, however. Fred, being the expert on traps, however, was easily able to find its entrance. Velma noticed that a lit lantern had been left, presumably by David. Why would David leave a lantern for us? Daphne asked. I think I have this mystery solved, and I now know who kidnapped us, exclaimed Velma. Velma then turned to the zombies. If we start screaming, that's your cue to come after us. She then turned back, with Velma in the lead, followed swiftly behind by Daphne. Shaggy and Scooby in the middle, with Fred bringing up the rear, so that Shaggy and Scooby won't have to be at the back, where the zombies were. The 5 of them made it down into the deep, dark and underground cave. They knew they had made it, where they saw moonlight lighting up the moon dial. It was just reaching midnight on a harvest moon. The light from the lantern then revealed David, breathing heavily, gritting his teeth in sheer agony. I see you picked up the lantern I left for you. I've been resisting it, but I assume you figured it out. David wept out in pain. Yes, we have. Your real name isn't David Ronnie. It's David Lenoir, descendant of Simone Lenoir, one of the cat creatures who was draining people on this island for 2 centuries. After finding out about her death, you and your family returned to the island. You figured out that it must have been us who stopped them. After you dug out Fred's video camera and played the tape, you then kidnapped us and brought us to the island so that you could have your revenge on us, Velma explained. Not quite, Velma. You're mostly right. I am a descendant of Simone Lenoir, but myself and my brother and sister despise her. We wanted rid of her, and rid of the curse. A curse that we had to suffer. Every year, we would have to drain people on the Harvest Moon as well. We would then bring them to the island so that they could be buried. We would then move away again, as far away from the island as we could, so that the zombies would not rise up. They'll only rise if they're in close proximity to us. On every harvest moon, I came across the camera by accident. The reason I kidnapped you is because you stopped the curse once before. I was hoping you'd be able to do it again. I imagine you may have bumped into Lena's descendants, Kevin and Tom, and my own sister Sophie. They do not want to end the curse like I do. They want to continue it, preserve their immortality. But now more than that, they want to resurrect Simone and Lena. They'll do this by draining 2 extra souls. So I destroyed the ferry to the island, cut off all phone lines and all communications, trapping them here. Unfortunately, they learned of a police investigation. They should be on their way here now. You have to help me delay them long enough until the harvest moon passes. Then our souls will finally be free, along with all the others that we have taken. David explained as he transformed into a cat creature. His brother and sister then emerged from the darkness. They had not been able to resist as long as David had, which is why they had kept out of sight. Before any of the gang had a chance to reply though, the other group of cat creatures, Kevin, Tom and Sophie, had shown up, and they were ready to drain the gang of their life force, and use the remaining 2 to resurrect Simone and Lena.